What if the next thing you use doesn't exist yet? Not because it hasn't shipped, but because it hasn't been created. Machines aren't cutting or assembling anymore. They're growing jet engines, body parts, even houses, one invisible layer at a time. Stop for a moment and look around you. Almost everything you see was made in a factory you've never visited, by machines you've never seen, long before it reached your hands. Now imagine a future where the next object you use doesn't exist yet, not because it hasn't shipped, but because it hasn't been created. Machines are no longer cutting or assembling. They're growing objects layer by layer using digital code. From jet engines to medical implants and even houses, 3D printing is changing how the world is built. For more than a century, manufacturing followed a single rule. You start with a block of material and remove everything you don't need. Metal is cut, plastic is molded, wood is carved. This process wastes material, energy, time, and money. 3D printing completely breaks that rule. Instead of removing material, it creates only what's necessary. No more, no less, no excess waste, no expensive molds, no traditional limits on design. And that leads to a powerful question. If almost anything can be printed anywhere in the world by almost anyone with the right design file, what happens to factories? What happens to global shipping? What happens to jobs, industries, and the very idea of manufacturing as we know it? To understand that, we need to start at the beginning. So what exactly is 3D printing? 3D printing, also known as additive manufacturing, is the process of creating physical objects from a digital design by building them layer by layer. A computer file becomes a set of instructions. Those instructions tell a printer exactly where to place material, how much to use, and how each microscopic layer should form. The result is a solid object created from nothing but data and raw material. Instead of cutting material away like traditional manufacturing, a 3D printer adds material step by step. That material can be plastic, metal, resin, concrete, ceramic, or even living cells. Each layer is incredibly thin, sometimes thinner than a human hair. Thousands of these layers stack together to form a complete, functional object. It's like turning imagination directly into reality. So how does this actually work in practice? First, a designer creates a 3D model using specialized software. This model defines every curve, angle, and internal structure of the object. The file is then sent to the 3D printer. The printer reads the design like a blueprint, breaking it down into layers. Then, layer by layer, the printer begins building the object from the ground up. There's no assembly line, no complex tooling, no need for dozens of machines, just one device transforming digital information into something you can hold in your hands. Now, let's talk about who is using 3D printing today. The answer is simple: almost everyone. Aerospace companies use it to print lightweight but incredibly strong jet parts. Doctors use it to create custom implants, dental tools, and prosthetics designed for individual patients. Architects and construction companies are printing entire houses in a matter of days. Car manufacturers are producing engine components and prototypes faster than ever before. Even fashion brands are printing shoes, accessories, and experimental clothing designs. From small startups to the world's largest corporations, industries everywhere are embracing this technology because it gives them speed, flexibility, and freedom. So where is this transformation happening? The answer is everywhere. In high-tech factories and research labs, yes, but also in hospitals, universities, construction sites, military bases, and remote locations where traditional supply chains don't work. Instead of waiting weeks for replacement parts to arrive,
companies can print them on demand. Instead of shipping products across the planet, designs can be sent digitally and produced locally. This reduces costs, saves time, and protects industries from global supply chain disruptions. So when did this revolution really begin? The roots of 3D printing go back to the 1980s when the first experimental machines were developed. But for decades, the technology was slow, expensive, and limited. It stayed inside laboratories and large corporations. What changed everything was speed, materials, and accessibility. Printers became faster, materials became stronger, costs dropped dramatically. Suddenly, what was once experimental became practical. The revolution didn't arrive overnight. It arrived when technology finally caught up with human imagination. Now comes the most important question of all. Why does 3D printing matter so much? Because it changes who gets to create. It reduces waste. It allows total customization. It speeds up innovation. It enables local production instead of global dependence. Manufacturing is no longer reserved for companies with massive factories and billion-dollar budgets. Today, if you can design something, you can print it. Power is shifting from factories to creators. And finally, we must ask, what happens next? The future of 3D printing is bigger than machines and materials. Homes printed in days instead of years. Organs printed to save lives. Factories replaced by digital files. Products designed once and produced anywhere in the world. 3D printing isn't just changing manufacturing. It's changing how humanity builds, creates, and solves problems. And this time, the future isn't being assembled on an assembly line. It's being built, one layer at a time.